5 minutes.
Thank you. Thank all of you for being here. We appreciate your indulgence, and I know you're tired and you're hungry, but you're almost there, so hang in there, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor and privilege of representing the entire coast of Georgia. We, of course, are not immune from natural disasters. In fact, we've had 2 hurricanes in an 11-month period, and as you can imagine, very devastating to our area. I wanted to ask, I see a lot of programs and funding that are included in these bills, and Mr. Gooch, I'll ask you, they seem to prioritize different uses, but I don't see them really prioritizing disaster situations. And I was just wondering how much of this bill really does actually reinforce resiliently. Is that really included? I mean, surely we want to mitigate these type of situations. We know that they're more common now, and some would argue that they're more intense now with these storms. Are we doing anything in this bill that would help us in that respect?
I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on all 200-some pages, but I think there are aspects that absolutely address reliability and resiliency. We've talked about some of them this morning on the transformer resiliency. Some of the monies that would go to DOE to help develop more resilient transformers, but also within the scope of the smart grid funding, I think that could also be considered a reliability function as well, because the more automated you have the ability to dispatch electrons and make real-time differences when you have one path cut down because of a tree line or because of a hurricane, and the ability to bring new generation online more quickly and to distribute that, I mean, that's what one of the underlying aspects of a smart grid. So I would say that it does take steps to address reliability and resiliency.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because I honestly believe that if we're smarter, if you will, if we just use a little bit of preparation, that we can sustain these storms a lot better, and certainly that would help. The weatherization program under the Department of Energy, and it's obviously intended to reduce costs for low-income individuals and low-income communities, of which we have quite a few in the state of Georgia as well. But are these updated in any ways to help these people? Because I mean, it's devastating to anyone who is flooded. It's devastating to anyone who's impacted by this, but especially for low income. Are you familiar with anything to do with that?
The Weatherization Assistance Program, it's a program that's been around for, I think, 3 decades. The reauthorization is incredibly important, not only to the recipients of those grants, but also to the utilities who serve them and provide the weatherization. The one mention I make in my testimony is that we would caution against diverting funds from efficiency improvements, which is what the Weatherization Assistance Program has been focused on, serving some 7 million Americans over its lifetime, and broadening the definition to include renewable technology. That is addressed in other parts of the bill, which we've also heard about this morning, specifically what Mr. Ruiz mentioned related to rural and low-income solar. So we would prefer that that the Weatherization Assistance Program stay solely within the bandwidth of increasing efficiency around the envelope of the residents.
Good. Thank you for that. Professor Lyons, I wanted to ask you, I represent South Georgia, a lot of rural area in South Georgia, and I know one of the things that we've talked about is the broadband build-out, and you seem to express concerns about the mapping process and about us making certain that we're prioritizing places that need to be, such as the rural areas. What would you suggest? I mean, what can we do differently, perhaps?
So part of the issue lies with better data collection at the FCC, right? So the FCC is already in the process of trying to figure out how to improve their existing data collection efforts, and have started to reach out through public-private partnerships with groups like U.S. Telecom to figure out better reporting. I think one thing that may be helpful is, as we mentioned before, and this is something that Commissioner Clyburn mentioned in her remarks as well, is some form of crowdsourcing to get third-party information, right? The information about what services are available where is known by the American people. It's just a matter of getting it from the disparate level up to those who are coordinating this. So finding ways to do that may be very useful. So, for example, I can go at any time on a website called speedtest.net. Right, anywhere I am, as long as I have a connection, it will tell me not only that I have connectivity, but what the speed is. That type of data is really valuable if it could get in the hands of those who are mapping not only availability but also speed on a location by location basis.
Well, thank you, and thank you all again for hanging in there with us. And I yield back.
Thank you. Mr. Rush, recognize